BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello and welcome to episode 567 of BRB UK. I am Coleman. Hi, filling in the host seat for Dan as he is off wandering the lands of Iceland with a big old backpack on, stacked with several crates and suitcases and weapons and trying not to fall over as he uses his triggers to go left to right to left, and a baby fetus strapped to him so he can figure out if there's any entities in the sky that might come down and snatch him. This is all a Death Stranding being created based on Scannings in Iceland reference.
Okay.
If you didn't catch that one, Tim. It's Tim.
No, I didn't get that at all. So, okay.
How's Tim?
I'm glad you filled me in. Hello.
Hello.
Happy DLC Day, Coleman.
DLC Day. We've got no new games to play because we've been playing DLC for existing games, which is good because it extends the longevity of those titles for us to talk about. And we'll jump straight into it, as he says as he turns the music down on his end here. There we go. We'll jump straight into it and talk about the games because we've got a fair bit to talk about this week because there was not a full Nintendo Direct, but some stuff to talk about on Nintendo Indie World. So, Tim, I'll go first as I've only got the one bit of DLC and it's pretty quick to cover, I think.
Right.
The first of the DLC fighters that isn't a pre-order or a special edition bonus for Mortal Kombat 1 has launched. It is Omni-Man.
They seek him here, they seek him there.
Omni-Man is available. He is, if you do not know, he is from the comic book and now animated series Invincible, which is Grant Hopkirk. No, not Grant Hopkirk. What's his name? Grant Kirkland?
Yeah,
Something
that
like
sounds right.
Walking Dead guy.
I'm not entirely sure, but yes. Let's go yes.
Robert Kirkland?
I am less familiar with the comic and more familiar with the, and to give them their notable advertising, Amazon Prime animated series. And yeah, like that's one of the things that people said, they could never make that as a live action thing. And you're like, well, I don't know, with all the CGI stuff and stuff these days, I think they could. Yeah. And then you watch the first series and you're like, oh, okay, maybe not.
No,
I mean,
I
maybe,
think they still could.
but
it
would be a hell of a budget.
So this marks the first of 3 different guest characters. I believe the rest are all Mortal Kombat characters, pre-existing characters coming back to the franchise. And
isn't that Homelander as well?
Yes, that's why I say first of 3 guest characters.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
I believe we're getting. So we've got Omni-Man from Invincible. We've got Peacemaker from the Suicide Squad, and we've also got Homelander from The Boys. And after playing Omni-Man, it's gone to show, hey, remember we were on this whole thing of going, there's Mortal Kombat, now there's Injustice, then there's Mortal Kombat, then there's Injustice, then there's Mortal Kombat, and then there's Mortal Kombat. What are we going to do with all those Injustice characters and movesets and stuff? We're going to recycle them into DLC characters for different superheroes. So I think that's why all the characters are kind of superhero based. This
is Omni-Man just Superman with his pants on the inside? Is that
he's got a fair bit? I mean, a lot of his moves are based on the Invincible stuff. I mean, the from the trailer going around, you may have seen the fatality where he's holding the character up for the train. So there are moves that are taken directly from the show and from the comic book, and then there are moves that when it happens, so Omni-Man can move super fast. There are some Flash moves. He can fly. There are some Superman moves. There are some Black Adam moves from the first Injustice that I'm recognizing as well. Yep. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm recognizing. Something I didn't recognize is the voice of J.K. Simmons is the actual voice of the character, much like the cartoon. I don't know why, because J.K. Simmons does voice acting. He's, if you don't know, he's the yellow M&M, the peanut M&M in the M&M.
I did not know that. Okay.
He's been doing voice acting alongside acting.
Learn something new every day.
You do. Billy West being the red one, the voice of Fry in Futurama.
Oh, anyway. Okay. I learned 2 new things today. And they were both about M&Ms.
I think that's all my M&M knowledge for this episode. Even though J.K. Simmons does do the voice, he doesn't sound like J.K. Simmons to me. And which is weird because
Well, it should
Omni-Man
sound
sounds like
Omni-Man.
J.K. Simmons in the cartoon. So
Right, okay.
it's a bit off. But yeah, you can expect that. Apparently, with the Peacemaker character, you're going to see John Cena reprise the role. However, Homelander will not be Anthony Starr. It will be a sound-alike.
Oh.
Boo.
Oh,
A bloody boo.
Anthony Starr being too big for your super boots. Does J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man at any point in time say, get me pictures of Spider-Man?
No, he doesn't. But his taunt, the first taunt you have is the think
Okay.
motion. So that's pretty cool. And I think actually in one of the intros where they sort of tie up in the kind of tie up move, he does say to Johnny Cage, "Think, Johnny, think." So that is quite funny.
And does he have a taunt where he says something about, look what they have to do to even have a tenth of our power? Or I'm messing that quote up slightly, I think.
I don't think. I know what you're talking about. I don't think that's in there, but
no. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. He is incredibly brutal. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, that's going to pop up on there. If you're not, then check out the trailer. He's incredibly violent, as is to be expected in Mortal Kombat. He is very fun. However, at the moment, he might need some nerfing because a lot of people are quite upset with him online because people are just absolutely cheesing their way through by playing as a superhero.
See, that's the problem with a lot of games, especially when it's paid DLC. Like, you can see, and this is something I've seen more in Marvel Snap, but when the characters first come out, they seem to almost deliberately make them overpowered so it encourages more people to buy them. And that's just a horrible business model.
I think that's encouraged
maybe accidental,
in
but...
Yeah, I think that's encouraged more in the mobile games like Marvel Snap because it is a free-to-play game and that like lives and dies based on its microtransactions. This one, it's a bit weird because there are microtransactions in the game. You buy these dragon crystals, which is a bit controversial this week because of the seasonal fatalities, which I'll get to in a second.
Chasing the dragon crystals.
Yeah, but the DLC fighters, like they're straight up cash. You buy them, or you get a season pass, or you get the ultimate edition, or whatever.
And the pricing for that is like way out of proportion, in my opinion. Like, it's gone too far.
So if you don't know, I mean, this all started with Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 10, where they went, hey, fatalities, they're a bit hard to do for some people. How about you can just do them at a touch of a button, which is something they used to do as an unlock in much older games, kind of like a debug mode type thing. And now they've gone, well, we will give you that, but you have to use a token, a fatality token, which will charge you in-game money, real-world money to buy in-game currency to buy that token to use a fatality. And so they're still doing that. That was the first sign of backlash against Mortal Kombat in the new age. And now it's you can buy fatalities with in-game currency, and there's a whole seasonal shop and stuff that you can unlock things on, and you have to get the currency for. And it's mostly costumes, palette swaps, that kind of stuff. But now they've straight up started doing fatalities, and the first one was a Halloween one, which was kind of harkening to what was it? It was Halloween 3, I think it is. So they take a jack-o'-lantern and put it on the other fighter's head, and then their head starts dissolving and a load of bugs start coming out. And that looked pretty cool, but it's more expensive than a DLC fighter.
Yeah, which I already think the DLC fighters are a bit expensive, and so it's slightly more justifiable, but it still seems overpriced for me, basically, on each character, given how much you're paying for the original base game, and you were kind enough to buy me a copy of the game for my birthday, so I was going to buy the season pass myself. But I'm like, that's nearly the price of the game just for the season pass. And I'm like, no, I'm going to wait for that to be on sale before I pick it up, I think, basically.
My mode has always been with these games, Injustice and with Mortal Kombat, is wait till there's a sale on the seasonal pass. And it's usually around the time where they've released all the DLC and they go, now we're going to do the ultimate pack for cheaper than the original base game launched on its own that you've paid for. Yeah. So I tend to go down that route. I think the only reason I did it this time is because I may have been a little bit intoxicated and someone showed me the trailer of the reveal of all the new fighters and I went, well, I guess I'm buying the Ultimate Edition right now. And I did it digitally, and about a week later I went, wait, I could have bought that physically. Oh, you idiot. I could have bought that much cheaper if I bought it physically. So that's the only reason I'm doing the DLC fights this time. Hence why we're talking about them, because we have to justify the expense that I paid for that. But yeah, the Ultimate Edition, so just buying the game with a season pass included, is super expensive. It's quite ridiculous. And so apparently there was so much backlash about the Halloween DLC fight, fatality, that they've now bundled all the seasonal fatalities together, I think, for the price of one. Is the intention, and then they'll release over time. But if I have that right, but if you've already bought the first fatality, then there's extra unlocks that are going to get thrown to you for doing that. I don't know if you saw the Thanksgiving one that got leaked.
Don't think so, no.
I nearly threw up watching it.
Really? That
bad? I like to think I'm quite desensitized to violence in video games. And this happened last time with there was a fatality from Shang Tsung in the previous game. When I did it, I was like, I have to put this game down for a bit and take some time away. And
did
this
someone
was
put
I saw that
a scorpion inside a chicken and then put that inside a duck and then put that inside a turkey? No.
So they warp to a Thanksgiving dinner and they dislodge the other fighter's jaw, start cramming it full of food, including a whole turkey, and then when they fall down, stamp on their stomach. It's horrific to watch. And seeing their jaw like flapping around and stuff. Yeah, that one really hit me this time. I was like, wow, I thought I was doing well, but apparently not. Anyway, Omni-Man, he's recommended.
Yeah. Is he good?
Yeah, he's very good. I'm sure they're going to nerf him at some point. I think it's probably quite clever going, especially when you've got guest characters, to go, hey, let's make him super powerful to begin with, because it's going to make you want to buy them. It's going to show that character in a good light, because it's cunning, and they're clearly going to nerf it because he's way too overpowered. But it does. I guess when you're licensing a character, it's a good look that they're way overpowered for the license holders that you're probably trying to impress.
Okay.
Anyway, I like him. He's fun. It's making me play the game more, and there's been a bunch of updates and stuff. It's season 2 of the go off and do your combat crypt mode thing, going around different realms, which is annoying because I didn't realize they were taking away the previous one, which I was going to come back to, and now they started a new one fresh. So you lose that. Yeah. Which means the tutorial's gone, which was interesting.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. I'd assume, because that's the Johnny Cage one to begin with, because now it's not there.
Oh.
But yeah, there's a Season of Blood, I think it is. It's all about the vampire.
It's the Season of Blood
character.
Okay.
And there's new brutalities and things that people are starting to figure out are there that weren't there previously. They seem to be adding stuff very quietly in their updates, which is kind of cool. I like that. Yeah. Mortal Kombat 1 still continues to be a great game. Anyway, moving on. Let's do the one. We'll come back to. Well, actually, no. Let's go to Dead Island 2. Because
let's keep our bloody theme up, basically. Yeah.
Let's keep this bloodthirst going.
Gore and violence.
Blood for the blood god.
Anyone doesn't know, there's been some free DLC added to Dead Island 2. I will just preface this with the fact that I got a review code originally for the game in general. Spoke about it on the show. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game. I thought it got slightly overshadowed for stuff that came out before, but this is the new DLC, which is all based around a thing called Haus, as in Haus. It's a kind of a weird Hollywood home that is home to a very odd cult, and I don't like being called a cult, but they're definitely a cult. My character liked pointing out to them that they were a cult.
Never mind. Carry on.
Yeah, there's enough latex outfits to indicate there's some sex to their sex cult basically going on as well. But there's a whole I don't want to give too much away of the story, but basically you pick up an invitation outside Emma's house, and Emma's house is the main base in the main game. And it's kind of just a house in Bel Air, and a big mansion, and she's a famous actress. But that's the base of operations for you travel around to different areas in LA, or LA as they refer to it as. But you go back to Emma's house, and there's this mystery invitation just lying on a table outside, and you pick it up, and it starts like dripping blood down the invitation, and you're instantly transported to this other location. And kind of, there are like 6 different characters that you can play as in Dead Island 2. And I was playing as Ryan, who's a guy dressed as a firefighter, but he's actually a stripper. But I quite liked him throughout the thing because he's quite sarcastic.
Mr. November, I see you gravitating towards your characters.
He's quite sarcastic and sardonic. And so he's like, magical transforming invitation, just transporting me places. Great. Then commentates on what's going on quite a lot, but does it quite sarcastically. And I've quite enjoyed playing as him throughout the game. But yeah, like he gets transported to this place, and then you get introduced to one of the kind of heads of the cult. And I say heads literally, like it's not just a figurative head. It's an actual beheaded person. And you find his head, pick it up and attach it to his body. And then for what I've seen so far, he's been holding his head onto his body to keep it in place. And you haven't entirely reasoned why he's alive, but you are tasked with then finding the heads of 2 other people that can then help you find the actual head honcho of the cult in general, basically.
Head honcho.
And yeah, there's a bit of a mystery going on, so I don't want to spoil too much of the mystery of what's happening, but you don't entirely know why they're alive, but you've got to go through certain trials to kind of prove yourself, and you're following the footsteps of one of their previous inductees called Hope. And you find recordings of what was going on with her before, and just hear her interactions with the various members of the cult. And then you've got to like kind of follow in her footsteps and go through those trials and kind of find out what's going on. You get to a point where you find the main new weapon for the bit of the DLC as well, which is a crossbow, which isn't a very high level weapon in the game. Like the higher level weapon you get, the more slots you get for perks and stuff that you can slot into each weapon. And it's a lower grade weapon, so it doesn't have as many perks as some of the weapons you get near the end game and stuff. But it is very good at just headshotting zombies and making them explode, which is quite handy, basically. But it's also used as a mechanic to get through certain areas that you can't get past otherwise in the game, basically. So, and there's also other doors that are blocked up that you have to be in Fury mode, which is a kind of your big kind of ultimate attack kind of thing that you build up to, and by attacking other zombies, it builds up that bar, and when that bar's full, you can go into Fury mode, and you have to be in Fury mode to open these other doors that generally lead to areas that have other reasonably good weapons in them, basically. Right. And yes, so far, and I say so far because I'm guessing I'm about halfway through, because I've gone through the 2 sets of trials, and I haven't got to the 3rd person yet, and then after that seems to be the head honcho. So I don't know how much content there is so far, but I've played it for a couple of hours and only got about halfway through, basically. And yeah, like it seems like a really interesting... It's actually treated as a main quest in the game, not like a side quest. I don't know how soon you can play it. It does direct you how you get into that content, but I don't know if it has to be end game content. I sense that it probably doesn't. But the game scales a bit weirdly near the end. Basically, right near the end of the game, you get really overpowered, and then it kind of dials it back a bit once you go back into the post-game content to mop up other things. So I'm actually feeling a bit underpowered compared to some of my enemies at the moment, basically, having been way overpowered right near the very end of the game, basically. But yeah, other than having to get used to, how do I do my drop kick? Because my drop kick's a very important part of how I've built my character and is like very useful. Like just general like base level enemies, like they call them walkers, that are just normal zombies. I can just drop kick one of them. It lights him on fire. Oh, him or her. Let's be gender neutral with our zombie killing. But yeah, it lights them on fire, and that can be enough to kill them just from drop kicking them, basically. So it's a very useful thing, and they kind of explode when I drop kick them as well, because you've got various different perks and stuff you can pick up through the game, and that can add on. And there's also some extra perks and extra skills and stuff that you can pick up in the DLC that adds on to my kicking abilities and stuff like that as well. So I've kind of extended those abilities even further in the DLC as well. I really like what they're doing. As I said, it feels like a mainline quest, and it treats it very much like that. And it is a substantial piece of content from what I've seen so far. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And the fact that it's free is an extra bonus. I mean, I think I got the I can't remember what they called it, but as part of getting the review code, I got the slightly bigger version that comes with extra DLC in the future as well. So I'm a bit surprised that they did free DLC up front for this, but for doing that, I think it's really good. As I said, I think the game got overlooked a little bit in the first place. I'll say this quietly because I know you don't like it, Coleman, but I'd really like to see an added VR mode, because I think that would be excellent for this game. But just in general,
on about VR.
Yeah. But in general, I think partly because it had such a long extended development cycle, and people kind of reasoned that it had been dropped in development hell, and that often doesn't bode well for a game. But I actually think the end product that they came out with is surprisingly good. Like, I think if they just structured it around one character and you just had that one character to play through, it still would have a reasonable level of replayability. But actually having those 6 other characters gives it a head and shoulders above a lot of other games, a lot more replayability. Like, I was thinking about this because I actually finished Spider-Man this week as well, Spider-Man 2. Despite Mary Jane's face, I persevered and got through to the end of the game. I still haven't gone back and mopped up everything up after completing the main story, but I thought that was really good, and there's some really nice end game content. I won't spoil it for you, but I guess you did the thing with the pigeons, Coleman?
Tim, I platinumed it. I've done everything.
Yes, so you did everything. So, but I thought that was a really nice quest. I think that only comes up in end game, but yeah, that was just felt quite poignant and quite nice. And there's some other good stuff that they do afterwards as well that I think is quite good. But I was thinking about it, and I don't know about you, other than going back and playing a bit of the remastered version of the original Spider-Man, I haven't really replayed, despite loving the first one and loving Miles Morales. I haven't gone back and played either of them, and I can't see me really going back and replaying Spider-Man 2 until they release DLC. And in fact, I think I'm even less likely to do that with Spider-Man 2 than going back and playing more of the remastered one, just because it had more massive battles with iconic enemies that I'd like to redo. And I don't think that's necessarily the case of Spider-Man 2. But to come back round to my point of Dead Island 2 as well, it having the extra characters where there was a lot of voices, and as I said, I liked the sarcastic and sardonic nature of a lot of the comments coming from my character. But I'd also like to see how that plays out and how people react to the character differently, and how they kind of work and word that with different characters. And the fact that I've got 5 other different characters that will not only make a difference to the way the story plays out and the comments that goes with it, but also make a bigger difference in gameplay as well, makes me more keen to actually replay Dead Island 2 than Spider-Man 2, which I just found an interesting thought, basically.
Well, I mean, I'm still yet to play Dead Island 2. I do actually want to play more Spider-Man 2, even though I've platinumed it, because I fancy doing some New Game Plus. But yeah, I do need to go back to the remastered as well, because so I haven't gone back to Miles because I've already platinumed it, so there's nothing else for me to do. And I did platinum the first Spider-Man, but they added more trophies in when they did the DLC. And I've not got all the trophies for the DLC. So it gives me an excuse to replay the Hammerhead stuff, which is admittedly the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
However, there is something to do still. But yeah. Anyway, there's something we've both been playing, and that's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Because Booster Course Wave 6 is out, which I believe is the final pack.
Yes, the final.
Which adds new courses and new characters, and more importantly, Funky Kong.
See, I found something more important than that.
Funky
Kong. As much as I like Funky Kong, he's a big chunky character, big chunky boy, and I don't like the big chunky boys in Mario Kart so much. So I'm more likely to play Diddy Kong than Funky Kong. But even better than that, and I don't know if you found this out yet, but there was a little, because they do a little exclamation mark on all the new characters on the characters select screen. And I was like, oh, I swear they already did Mii's, but there's a little exclamation mark on the Mii's. Why is that? And I went and had a look. And they have costumes for your Mii's. So there is a Yoshi costume, and there is a Bowser costume, and there is a Dry Bowser costume, and there's a selection of costumes. But more interesting than that as well, I found on subsequent playthroughs that there's a selection of 6 costumes each time you go in, but that selection changes every time you go in as well. So you won't have the same costumes there every time. I think it seems, and I don't know if this is true, I don't know if it just happened to be the case when I was observing it, but it seems to be if you're in a chosen costume and you go back in to look at the costumes, you'll have the one available to you that you're already in, and then you'll have 5 others that it cycles through from different options. And a lot of them, or most of them are characters from the game, but some of them are just silly things. Like one of them is Bowser's Castle.
Oh, okay.
And other such.
Well, I mean, in the latest Mario game, Bowser turns into a castle, so I mean, that works.
Yeah, so there's obviously things going on. But yeah, I just thought that was quite cool, and I really enjoyed that, and they're really silly costumes, and it makes the Mii's even more usable, and they're a size and weight that I actually like to use the characters, so I've been using those mostly, basically.
I'm not too bothered. Well, I didn't even know about the costumes till just now, and if you were an Amiibo user, you would have a lot of costumes already for your Mii's, because that was like a big selling point for Amiibos at the time. Yeah? Pac-Man costume's pretty good, I'll say.
Oh.
Get a little helmet with the Pac-Man on the back, but he's animated. It's cool.
Oh.
It's cool. I like it. Anyway, yeah, how you finding it? This is like a new playthrough of I mean, admittedly, there's the Mario Kart I have on the Switch, and then there's the Mario Kart I have on the Steam Deck, because I can never be asked to take 2 handhelds around with me. So I have been playing on the Steam Deck, and has been performing very well. But I am redoing a lot of courses. So I've gone in and had a quick play and messed around with a few courses on this one, but I haven't gone in to like go through and make sure I'm full 10 coining everything.
Yeah. I haven't got all the coins at 150cc, but I was a bit disappointed that I got gold on both of them on 150cc on my first time. I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, like I still got a reason to go back and play it at 150cc, but not a massive motivation. I think the final courses are fine. They are not brilliant, not terrible in most cases, but just okay. Like, I would have liked to go out on a bang, and I don't think they really have. I think the final course being Rainbow Road from the Wii is a kind of obvious choice, but it's also the easiest Rainbow Road.
Yeah, it's not as good as the N64 Rainbow Road.
Yeah, and it just feels like a
the
bit
F-Zero.
Yeah.
F-Zero X Rainbow Road.
And it just seems like a bit of a, not quite a damp squid to go out on, but not a high note, basically, kind of thing. It just seems a bit like, Yeah, okay. That was that
Just
then,
say
I
a damn
guess.
squid.
Yeah, maybe squib is what I meant, but hey,
I like it.
yeah, kind of what's the name reference? Oh, what's the silly
I
shooting
think that's
game
an
with squids?
Splatoon. I think
Splatoon
that's actually an
reference.
IT
That's what I was going
project.
for. Well, there you go. But yeah, so yeah, like I think they're like mostly they're okay. I quite like the tour courses. Like I quite like the way they work. I think the Rome one's quite fun, going through the Colosseum, going over the Trevi Fountain and stuff. It's quite cool. And the other one's Madrid, I think, isn't it? And I think that one's
Yeah.
okay. It's not brilliant, but going through the little soccer stadium was quite fun, and there's some fun bits in it. And both of them are made a bit better by the fact that there's a slight different lap every time you go around. But I don't think either of them are necessarily. Well, actually, no. Rome's quite fun to drive, whereas I found Madrid not that fun to drive. Basically, it was okay again, but not terrible, not brilliant.
See, I find the World Tour ones a bit jarring because historically, all the kind of courses in Mario Kart, they're either based off a video game level or they're like Peach's Runway or something like that. And then, cartoony themed, but Bowser's Castle and things. And then the only time we've really had DLC tracks before, they went, here's Hyrule, here's Animal Crossing, here's Excite Bike, that kind of stuff. And now they've just gone, here's real world locations, but not containing any of the new course stuff that you're used to in this iteration of the game, because this is a mobile game track that we've just gone, just take that, plop it in there, and use the assets from the in-game.
Yeah. And some of the other courses felt like they were scraping the barrel a little bit. Like, is it Bowser Castle 3 or whatever it is? It's the least interesting Bowser's Castle, I think, basically. And then is it Daisy Highway, the other one, or something like that? Daisy something, but that
Sounds right.
fairly forgettable as well. And yeah, as I said, they're fine, they're okay, but they didn't exactly set my world alight in terms of driving enjoyment, basically. But they're also equally not terrible. The one thing that I think was a missed opportunity, which I'd really like to see them do, is, and I don't know if they've got the scope for adding this afterwards now that they've done all the DLC, but I think having bought out all of these tracks now, they could have done some nice remixing of different cups. So you could have a Rainbow Road Cup where it's all the different tracks from Rainbow Road, and then you could have a N64 track where it's the 4 cup.
Don't give them ideas, because they'll push back the next Mario Kart and keep selling you these ideas.
Well, no, but it would just be nice to just have an N64 cup where it's the 4 best tracks from the N64, and you race and you get a little gold N64. Like, that would be quite cool. Like, I'd like that. And then they could do like tour ones as well, where it's 4 different tour tracks and stuff like that. I know you can like pick your own, but it'd be nice just to have a little remix of that and just do a few different, like, you wouldn't have to release new tracks, just do new cups, which are new combinations of the existing tracks. And I think it's a missed opportunity to not do that.
Can you just go, right, let me make
I think you can in multiplayer. I think you can just select 4 courses, no? I think.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. I'd like to like save like a playlist of levels, like you can in say GTA or something.
Yeah.
Because that
make
would
your
be
own
cool.
cup kind of thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah, just literally just save all the Mario Kart 64 tracks and go, all right, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah.
This is what I will play now for the rest of time. But no, it was, I mean, I was optimistic about the announcement of them saying that they were going to do like a year of content to extend the longevity of the game, which I remember it was kind of met with a lot of criticism, negativity on the announcement, because people wanted the next Mario Kart, but clearly they're not getting it yet. So they've gone, oh, well, we're just going to stretch out the old games. Oh, that's a really good idea. Oh, and you included it in the Nintendo Online. That's an expansion thing. That's a good idea as well. But then after actually playing a lot of these new courses, like, I can see why there's a lot of negativity towards them, because they don't incorporate a lot of the current features of Mario Kart.
And I think if anything, that's the biggest criticism of the tour courses is that they don't really feature the Mario Kart 8 ethos in them, like driving on the walls and driving upside down and stuff like that. But yeah, like I think the DLC overall was reasonably priced for what you got in return overall. As I said, I think it finished on a slightly downward note, but not horribly so. And I think it was well priced compared to paying £10 for a finisher in Mortal Kombat 1, paying £22 or whatever it was for all of the courses. And each time a new wave has come out, it's re-engaged me with the game. It's got me back into playing the game, to playing those courses, to dipping in and out a bit more of the courses that I hadn't played for a bit as well. And so I think it has lengthened the time, the lifespan of the game in general. And so I think in that regard, it's been an overall success, and I'm happy with the purchase of the DLC overall, I think, basically.
I think, because for people that like really get into these games and like play it very seriously and play them day one and all that kind of stuff, it's good that you've got extra content and something to bridge the gap for the next game. Although every time they release one of these, they again met with criticism every single time one of these waves comes out. For me, who plays very casually and now it's on a handheld, literally just use this to kind of pass the time on a commute. I really like these games.
You say now it's on a handheld, but this game's always been on a handheld, Common.
Well, yes. When it came out on Wii U, it was on a handheld that was tethered to inside the house.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But since being on a Switch, Mario Kart, I bought it and never beaten the whole thing because I literally just use it to something to do while I'm out and about, really.
Yeah.
And extending that, giving me a new scenery to play around with, new courses to look at. I like it for that reason.
Yeah.
And not paying full price for it because I think I paid like £6 in a CD key clearance thing. So.
Oh, okay. So.
Yeah, I don't buy the online expansion thing, and I don't. I didn't pay full price for the DLC, so it's not been bad. All right, let's get into some news, shall we? Because first of all, there was a Nintendo Indie World Showcase, Tim, and I don't think you highlighted anything that you wanted to talk about in here.
Basically, I think you highlighted most of the things I did, apart from Howl, which I did not highlight.
Well, why didn't you highlight Howl?
Because I forgot, Coleman, okay?
It's for my notes, Tim. You remember the show notes? Remember the show notes, Tim? The show notes.
I know.
There you go. I highlighted it. Now I'll know for later.
Okay.
Let's start off with Howl, which did not appeal to me at all, but this seems right up your street, Tim. Explain what it is.
Yeah. Right. So the reason why Coleman rightly says it appeals to me is because it's a turn-based tactical game. So that's the thing that does appeal to me. The thing that they kind of lean on quite a bit, and the things that I don't entirely know if it's for me, is it's a medieval folktale type thing. But also the art style, I don't know if I like or dislike. I'm really torn on it, basically. But it's a kind of painted, they describe it as a living ink art style. And I kind of threw up in my mouth a bit when I had to read over that. But yeah,
it's somewhere between cave paintings and a tapestry.
Yeah, like living art. Just it's all animated. Like that's what video game art is. Like it's not living anyway. But yeah, I like the general look of it. The general setup is there is a plague that is spread through sound. And that plague is turning people into werewolves, hence Howl, because they're all howling at each other, and that's turning everyone else into werewolves.
And his moving castle.
No, there's no moving castles. But yeah, the main character is Death, and so is immune to the Howl. And they refer to her as a prophet, and I don't know why. But yeah, I'm intrigued. There is a free demo, and I'm going to download that demo this week and give it a go. As I said, I'm the gameplay sounds like it's up my street. I'm not sure about the general setup and the art style, so I'm intrigued enough to have a look, and I will report back next week. So let's leave that there for now, probably.
Cool. One I wanted to give mention to just because it sounds like I don't play a lot of roguelites or roguelikes, but it seems like someone made one especially for me. This is a roguelike, which is all about inventory management, which for someone who has CDO, which is, if you don't know, it's OCD, but I rearranged the letters to make it more neater. And it's actually quite appealing to me. It's the idea of you playing this little mouse character. You're going through dungeons and fighting enemies, but a lot of it is kind of rearranging your inventory and your backpack into that very kind of Tetris style of making sure that all the available space is used. So that does appeal to me. It's out now, actually. I think this just came out Steam Early Access and is released on the Switch, but it's also available on Steam, obviously. So I'm thinking that might be a Steam Deck choice for me. But I like the idea of that.
There's been jokes for years about people making a game out of the backpack or the general inventory management thing from the original Resident Evil games and stuff like that. And I think this is someone gone, okay, I'm going to run with that idea. But it does seem to be that there's a kind of the backpack gives you an automated fighting system as well, no? Or something of that sort of nature as well.
Yeah.
So a bit of loop hero about it as well.
Yeah, it seems that way. I just really like that idea. And yeah, you've just thrown me back to Resident Evil 2 with making sure all my items slot in the right way. And then used an action replay to mess around with the game, and it basically took every item that was more than one slot and condensed it into one slot. I went, oh, I can carry so many things now. Look at this Gatling gun. It only takes up one square. That's brilliant. I love that.
Back in the day, we didn't have to pay to cheat in games, eh?
Well, you start to pay for an action replay.
Well, yeah, but that was a one-off cost, not for every game. But hey.
Moving on. Anyway, Backpack Hero, that's out right now. And one that's not out now, but one I'm looking forward to is Blade Chimera. Which
I really liked the look of this one as well.
So did I. And it's saying all the right things. I mean, it's got that kind of Castlevania Symphony of the Night look about it. It's a 2D side-scrolling action game. Got some hack and slashing in there. You have a special sword that you use to fight your demons, but also you can use it for some kind of time manipulation as well. So it's got that kind of Castlevania mixed with Prince of Persia look about it that I like the idea of. That's not coming out till next year, but it's due out in spring. So hopefully not too long of a wait.
This reminded me a bit of Shadow Complex. Not possibly, I don't know how much of the Metroidvania element it has in it, but I don't know why. Graphical style and to some extent like combat maybe. But yeah, this does seem to have a bit more to it. Like you say, it's got that sort of time manipulation element and environmental manipulation to go with it as well. But yeah, like I really like the look of this. This looked fun.
Next up on the list, we've got from the studio behind 80 Days, it's a Highlands song, which appealed to me because A, it's a very beautiful looking game. It's set in the Highlands of Scotland, and it's a rhythm game. It was a sort of semi-rhythm platforming game, which I like the idea of. And it has traditional Scottish music, which means I get to play
the bagpipes?
That.
How did I know you were reaching for the bagpipes?
Okay! It's me, John Brady!
And the cultural stereotypes.
Well, Dan's not here. Someone's got to
fly
the xenophobic flag.
Incidentally, we didn't get to mention at the top of the show, but we did get confirmation that Dan has not been sucked into a volcano or knocked out by volcanic gases. And he did say, when I asked him about this, he said he made extra sure he's volcano-proof by sitting on an ice throne and provided a picture of him doing so. So yeah,
That's fun.
we look forward to
That's
you
fun for us.
safely returning from your volcanic or hopefully non-volcanic adventures next week, Dan. So there you go.
Anyway, a Highland song. It looks really good. I like the look of this. And again, I think this one's going to be on Steam as well as on Nintendo Switch. But that's coming out on the 5th of December. So not long to wait.
Ooh.
I think I will be picking that up and talking about that on the show. Very quick mention to Planet of Lana, which we have reviewed on the show before. I was playing this earlier in the year on Steam Deck. This is an action-adventure game in the same vein as a Flashback or Another World. And this is where you play as a young girl and her alien cat-looking creature as they are trying to rescue all the people that have been captured on our home planet by machines. And that's coming to Steam Deck. Sorry, Steam Deck. That's already on Steam Deck. That's coming to Nintendo Switch on spring next year. So if you've not been able to play this on any other platform, then you'll be able to pick it up on the Switch. And that was there was sort of a section where they do that quick chop of games where they don't go into much depth. They just show a very split second of a trailer and you go, oh, that looks good. How come we don't get to see more of that? That happens a lot. One that I thought was really interesting in that lot was the Gecko Gods, because it's got this very nice looking style to it, which it kind of got that cell shaded animation, which again, they always seem to do this in the every time they do this in the Nintendo Directs and Indie Directs and stuff, it's always one of those kind of games that catches your eye, but they just flash past it really quick. I thought this looked really good, and it's a 3D platformer where you play as a gecko exploring the world, and that's it's got that kind of cozy platformer look to it, which cozy games don't. I think they appeal to me more in visuals than they do in the actual gameplay. But I want to play as a gecko, jumping around a little open world.
Get to eat stuff.
I want to be a gecko. That looks really cool. When's that out? That's out in spring as well next year. So
my former flatmate had geckos as pets, but they don't like to be touched. So I don't think that qualifies as a pet. If you can't pet them, it's not really a pet. But
I dated a girl with a gecko when I was like 18. He was called Frodo, which is funny now because
the girl or the gecko was called Frodo?
The gecko was called Frodo.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I haven't even thought of that until just now. The other one that I wanted to name very quickly was, I see if I can get this right. It's Passepartout 4, The Lost Artist, which...
you said 4. You got the name right, and then you said 4 rather than 2. It was literally just the number 2. And
I tried to say a French
so
word.
So hard on the Passepartout that you went and added another 2 to the 2 and got 4.
Passepartout 2, The Lost Artist. I wanted to mention this quick because I spotted the first game years ago. I think it was in a Cool Ghost video, and they were doing that. If you remember Cool Ghosts trying to be a thing, they went from regular comedy skits and reviews to doing this very long form video about them dying and coming back as ghosts, and then talking about games randomly with no rhyme or reason by the seams of it. Yeah, it was a very odd time in video games entertainment on YouTube. But I think they were talking about the first game once before, and it caught my eye, and I never noted it down, and I never looked back into it. And then when I was watching this one, oh, this is a sequel to that game that I wanted to have a look at. So I might just jump straight into the sequel. But the idea is you're playing an artist.
To the sequel in some way.
Yeah. It's number 2, not number 4. We'll state that now. I will put things in the show notes once again. You're playing an artist who no longer has a career, but you're going around and creating works of art for the general public in the hopes to sell each piece of art and gain money to try and get your career back on track. This is out right now, so you can look out for that one. Passepartout 2, The Lost Artist. And the kind of hook of this is when you're creating the art in the game, you're actually doing it yourself. So It's a
I'm
cute
actually
little idea,
doing
I
it.
thought. I'm doing it. Ma, look at me draw. It's a goose. Probably. I don't know. Whatever you want to draw. Anyway, that was the Nintendo Indie World Showcase. We haven't gone through every game, just kind of a few selections of the ones that we thought would be pertinent to talk about by ourselves. But there was a lot more announcements. Go check it out. There'll be a link in the show notes if you wish to go see it for yourself.
Tell from the fact that I didn't highlight many of them that I thought it was a bit dull. Not much of interest to me.
I can't believe in this Indie World Showcase, Tim, that they didn't show Silk Song 2 and they didn't show the new Nintendo Switch 2 and they didn't show a new Mario game and they didn't show a new Dark Souls game.
I'd have been fine with them just showing a few more interesting games, Coleman. Not to be too much of a downer on indie game. But also, I think like the big finish was Braid Anniversary Edition, and I know the world loves that game. I've just never got it. Like, I don't understand.
I like that's coming out April 30th next year, by the way. I like Braid, but when I'm looking at the improvements compared to the original version of Braid, which I have on Steam and I played on Steam Deck recently, I'm not seeing a huge difference, even though they're doing the screen wipe and showing me the difference. But the thing about Braid is, the thing about the two Jonathan Blow games I know is every time they come out, a new game comes out, someone goes, "Oh, this is what it's about." And Jonathan Blow either says, "No, you've got the message wrong," or "No, you're playing my game wrong." And I like his games, but I don't like Jonathan Blow. He seems quite pretentious.
Probably good reason. But also, like it's the wipe when they're going, "Hey, look, we've made this game still look terrible. Here you go."
It doesn't look terrible.
I've never liked the art style for that game. Like even that isn't the main character called Tim, I think, and
Can't remember.
But I think it all kind of revolves around platforming, which, as you know, isn't really my thing. And I don't know. I think I was spoiled on the big reveal before I even started playing the game. So I just,
It's just funny because I've watched like long form videos where people or read articles where people have tried to work out what the story of the game is, what the interpretation is. And then guaranteed in the comments, you will see Jonathan Blow going, "Wrong! You've got it all wrong." Like, all right, dude, just let people speculate.
If you want people to get it right, make it more obvious.
Also, it's been enough time where we've actually got an anniversary edition. If you're annoyed with people getting the message wrong, why don't you just tell us at this point what it's about? Anyway, right, we're going to burn through the rest of the news pretty quick. There is more layoffs in the games industry, unfortunately. There's more to come. But Amazon have had quite a big reduction of their games division. They've laid off 180 workers, and that is meant to be from the Game Growth and Crown channel sections of the Amazon games. But also, like, it sounds shocking, but it's not all games related. When you look at the company overall of Amazon, they've actually laid off 18,000 people this year.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Amazon famously doesn't have much money, so, you know.
No. It's all that tax that they pay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, really contributes to society a lot.
Look, we praised your flipping beat-em-up character. We praised your Omni-Man, Amazon. So with one hand we giveth, with the other hand we taketh away, as like you do with jobs.
Yeah.
Pay your taxes. Anyway, there's also quick rumblings of... So Remedy's, they've had 4 games that they've been working on. Alan Wake has come out very recently. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks. The next game, which was Codename Vanguard, that was meant to be a free-to-play co-op game, but has apparently been retooled as a premium game with a cooperative multiplayer component. So this is the big game that they're doing for Tencent.
Okay.
We love Tencent. We want to put that on record. Well, yeah, once they've taken over the entire world, we want them to know that we love our overlords.
Okay. We love our future
We love TikTok.
Overlords.
We love Tencent. We love, all that stuff. But yes, so The Codename Vanguard is no longer going to be a free-to-play game, so expect a multiplayer premium game. There seems to be a lot of retooling I'm spotting from titles going forward, from job listings and things that make it seem like things that could have been or should be free-to-play might be going more premium because everyone needs more money these days. I don't know if you noticed, Tim.
Yeah, I
Companies
mean,
need more
also
money.
one of the other things we haven't talked about and isn't on the agenda, so we won't go in depth, but just Sony announced that 6 of their live service games have been delayed. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if they might be delayed because they're being retooled away from being a live service option as well. Because I don't know if you noticed, but for a while everyone was chasing their own Fortnite, but there's not enough room in the industry. We did point this out to people, and then Sony going, "We're going to make 12 of them and just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks," kind of thing. It's still still a large development cost, and you don't have the return of that initial money up front from selling the game. I think it's a harder kind of thing to sort of deliver properly and guarantee some success.
Every time the big money maker happens, whatever it is, you're going to see all the people trying to ape it and try to get the same kind of thing. We saw it with Warcraft, we saw it with Destiny, we saw it with Halo, we saw it with League of Legends. Whatever the big money maker is, everyone's going to copy it, and then we're going to get a bunch of inferior versions, and then it's just not going to happen. The Fortnite one is genius because they went, hey, everyone seems to be playing this PUBG game. How about we just retool our game, make it free to play, and start doing these licensing deals?
And you can build
it's like the biggest game in the world now.
Yeah. And everyone took the mickey out of it at the time for being very simplistic and childlike. And then it conquered the world and got every licensing agreement ever.
Yes.
But also, just on another note, while we're talking live service as well, we did see a big video come out this week about Suicide Squad, and they very clearly stayed away from mentioning anything about the financial side of things, the microtransaction side of things, the live service element that they've obviously backed away from. And
they haven't actually confirmed any of that. All that stuff was from leaks.
Yes, but their video very deliberately stayed away from talking about any element of that side of things, basically.
Well, yeah,
just talked about the story and everything else. But
I don't think that's because they're retooling it. I think that's just because all the seasonal stuff, all that stuff that I don't like in video games now, all the trends, all the Fortnitification of all the video games, that leaked out and it got really negatively reacted to. So the only thing we've really seen is they confirmed that Kevin Conroy is Batman in the game because the sad passing of Kevin Conroy. And that's all we saw. And now they've gone, okay, well, we pushed the game back and now we're going to bring the game out and here's the game.
Well, no, there was also the
got to show you it off a bit.
The big trailer that came out, I can't remember, was it Game Awards or something where they showed off a big chunk of it? Maybe it was a PlayStation thing or something.
Prior, I believe.
Yeah, but that
was
came
before
out,
the leaks.
That got negative feedback on what they were going for there, and they did seem to kind of step away from a bit from that. But it is a bit like, what if instead of giving you Batman, we gave you not Batman and every buzzword that you don't like about video games all crammed into one game? It's like, no. But yeah, I did like the look of what they're showing at least.
Yeah, it's annoying because it's the same thing as the Gotham Knights stuff. I don't like any of the mechanics and things that they're feeding into. And Gotham Knights is one that I think definitely was meant to be one of these kind of games that got turned around at the last minute to take out all the microtransactions because there was a lot of negativity going towards it when it was in development. And Marvel, what was it? Marvel's Avengers as well. That was another one that I felt they kind of turned around. And this one, I mean, they very well could do it. They could have planned a bunch of microtransaction-y stuff that's going to get taken out, but all the seasonal things and all that kind of stuff, I think that's going to cause a problem. But then they put out the trailer, very smartly so, they're putting out the trailers that are focusing on the story elements of it. They're showing more cutscene-y things, and because that's the only stuff that's gone down well, is the cutscenes about the story.
I think it was also a good trick of Suicide Squad to explain how they got their different traversal powers, which they went into in depth in this video.
Yeah.
But then also, they did seem to have strayed away from what they were doing before, because they got criticism for like everyone having the same access to the same guns and looking very samey. And I think they kind of seem to individualize the combat a bit more in what they were showing off, at least.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn with a bat rather than a gun and stuff like that.
I mean, they all kind of they're all going to have a melee fight of some form. They're all going to have a gun of some form. They're all going to have a traversal of some form, whether that be using the Speed Force to jump from this area to this area, using a grapnel gun and a glider. Like, they're all going to have different things, but they're all going to be basically the same. It's going to be different. It's going to be the same move set with different effects, basically.
I will hold judgment on and will be generally a bit more pro the game, because I trust Rocksteady to deliver a good product.
That's fair. I do love the output of Rocksteady. I think it was kind of wavering a little bit in Arkham Knight, and I'm worried that they tried to jump on a trend that was big when the game was in development, but then when they were close to launching it last year, when it was meant to come out, it's not worked out in their favor, and the industry's changed that. I don't know whether they're going to change the game for that or what, but
I don't think they've said as much, but I think, knowing how Warner Brothers act generally, that I think most of what people didn't like about the structure of the game was probably something they were ordered to do rather than something they wanted to do with the game, I would have thought.
Maybe.
Don't know for sure.
I'm not gonna start guessing on that side of things, but I think it's annoying, because I know from what I've seen of the gameplay, I'm not going to enjoy this game. And I mean, it's good because it's going to be the Arkham thing, the Gotham Knights thing of they're actually saving me money by not buying a game day one by putting me off the game. But
I want to play this game with you, Coleman.
It's not that. It's not even the multiplayer. I want to play for the story. But if there's going to be a bunch of grinding that I don't want to do and seasonal content and stuff that I don't want, then I'm less likely to play the game. And then I need to do it with Gotham Knights. I need to just sit there and watch a flipping YouTube video of all the cutscenes, and then I'll get the same enjoyment out of it, I think. I need to do a Kev on this. For historically,
Gotham Knights came out on PlayStation.
The way Kev
if
plays,
you had it on PlayStation, I could Gotham Knights with you, Coleman. I could quite happily play something.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, basically, I won't pre-order. I'm going to wait till actual reviews come out from not just outlets, but like more general reviews, and get a feel for it before I put down, a game that I was once on my one to watches, before they delayed it, and then showed me more of it and went, ooh, I don't want to play this. All right. That is all the news we have time for this week, as I've cut a couple of things out, because we got to move on. And the way we do that is doing the wrap-up end of the show. And first we do that by saying, go over to tpublic.com/stores/BRB. Over there we have our merch store. What do we have on there, Tim?
Things that aren't Dan's face.
Merch, Tim! We have stuff that is related to Big Red Barrel, like Dan's face. We have stuff that isn't related to Big Red Barrel, like Dan's face. We have
stuff that isn't Dan's face.
We have original artwork and things that are related to the website, and you can support us and the artists that make the fine things that we get to see. That you get to wear by going over to tpublic.com/stores/BRB and picking up a fine piece of merch. More importantly, you get to show your support for our little website, bigredbarrel.com.
Buy yourself a mug for Christmas.
Go get yourself
the
Tabletop Tuesday Kaiju shirt, because it's awesome. And let us know what color you got it in, because I got it in orange and it looks banging.
I like it in red.
Well, of course you would.
I would.
You're a simple folk.
Simple folk. I like simple things. There's also there's a Big Red Barrel bag behind my head. If I move my head.
There's a
currently on my shelf
red bell on my desk.
Oh,
I think I've got any BRB stuff over here.
There's a mug behind me as well. Yeah.
Mug. The official Big Red
That
tape
way.
measure.
That's not on the store.
That's on the store. That's Big Red Barrel branded, that. Right. Speaking of Tabletop Tuesday, they happen on a Tuesday. What's happening at Tabletop Tuesday, Tim?
This week, we don't have we have a new game to play. We don't have a feature game to win this week. We're doing something a little bit different. Someone volunteered a copy of their game to loading, so we're using it as part of Tabletop Tuesday. It is a game called Hitster. I had to say that quite carefully, but it's basically a music-based game for 2 to 10 people. And what you do is you scan a card that's got, I think, a name of... I don't know if it's got the name of the song in it, but basically... Well, I think that's the idea. But you scan a song on a card from a card with a QR code, and that then through the app plays the song through Spotify, and then you have to identify the year that the song came out by correctly slotting it into the correct place on a timeline. So it's part timeline, part music game. Sounds interesting, could be fun. And although we don't have a copy of the game to win, we do have a bunch of, I think they're flyers that have a discount code on them to give away to anyone that's interested in purchasing the game. So that is something at least. And yeah, it's a 2 to 10 player game. It takes about half an hour or so. So hopefully the one copy we have should get round people enough on the evening for everyone to play. And yeah, come along and play that, and you can get yourself a discount code, or just come along and play all the other games that we have at loading, because we have a mighty selection of games there now. And I can help you find some games and find some people that like playing them. If that appeals to you, then you can come along and join us at the loading bar in Stoke, Newington. There are also more details on the top left-hand corner of Big Red Barrel, or there hopefully will be by the time this podcast goes up. And you can search for Tabletop Tuesday and Meetup on meetup.com and join the over 2,000 plus members that we have there. And yeah, or just as we said, come along on Tuesday to the loading bar in Stoke, Newington, and join us for Tabletop Tuesday.
That is Tabletop Tuesday at the loading bar in Stoke, Newington on the 21st of November, which happens to be my payday! Very exciting. It's been a rough month. Nice. Anyway, go see
Well,
Tim
if you're going to
Tuesday.
treat yourself to Omni-Man and Friends, then, you know.
Okay. Tim, I think we should do a question, but before we do so, I will say, if you've enjoyed this show, you've got weird taste, but thank you very much for listening. Go over to whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on and leave us a review. That could be Apple Podcasts, that could be Podcast Addict, that could be any of the things that you listen to us on that have the ability to give us a review. Have a look at your app. You might be able to do it in app. That'd be cool. That gets back to us. We read those. We read them out on the show if we find them particularly entertaining or complimentary. We just get big heads over this kind of stuff. You can also go over to bigredbarrel.com. You can leave us a comment there. You can get a link to our Discord. You can find us on Facebook, X, and Threads at Big Red Barrel. And you can find us on YouTube, Big Red Barrel TV. Of course, links will be available in the show notes to all those social platforms, our website, and also any of the links to video trailers or anything we talk about. Just take a look. I put chapters in the show notes, and they're quite handy, I find, when you need to listen back to something.
Chapter 1.
Anyway, while you are leaving us comments and reviews and stuff, you might want to go to any of those platforms and say to us loud and say to us proud. You might want to say, I have a question! Much like these people have done, and we're going to go with, just for a difference, it's Ed. He said, I have a question for the podcast. When Tim said games should plan to have a sequel to fix the issues of the first, what recent games do you think would be amazing if their sequel were to be made? Well, all the recent games that I've been playing seem to be sequels.
That's, I was having a problem with that, possibly.
Yeah, for good or for bad. I mean, Spider-Man 2, amazing sequel to Spider-Man.
Yep. Dead Island 2 was better than the original Dead Islands, in my opinion. Took them a while, but was good.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So I was just looking at the game case because I
That
always
was a
forget the name
sequel.
of that game. Bad sequel. Good
Jedi
story.
Survivor.
Really
Not a good
ruined by
sequel.
technical issues.
Yeah.
So I don't know because everything does seem to get a sequel. The Immortal game that I was playing.
I was about to say, do you think that Immortals of Avium would benefit from having a second attempt?
Yes, I like Immortals of Avium, but unfortunately it came out just on the cusp of a bunch of games that I was very excited for started coming out. So it's fallen by the wayside. So this will be my end of the year game because I
Ooh.
tend to go through all the games that try to polish off and get into and all that kind of stuff. I try to catch up at the end of the year for the sake of end of year awards and things. So that will be one of them. But I think it's got a good base and some amazing visuals and gameplay and stuff to it, where a sequel to that would be very very much warranted and welcome by me, especially because like this is one of the few games that has come out that is just this generation, and you can see in a lot of the effects and stuff that are utilized that is made for PS5, Xbox Series X, you know?
Okay.
What
I'm
about
going
you,
to
Tim?
say one answer to this question that neither you or Coleman or Ed will particularly like.
Ed?
And then I'm going to throw Ed a bone and give him one that he will really like. But yeah, the one that you don't care about, but is I think a good answer to the question, is Synapse. It's a VR game that came out
Oh, yeah. I
by
wanna play
End
that.
Dreams. I think it was pretty good, but a lot of people complained that it didn't have like a good ending, like the end boss wasn't particularly great, and there's a few other things. And I think that would be a game. I really like the visual style. I really like the world setting. And even with the roguelike thing, I think it would be good. But I think a sequel to that game could perfect on the formula and the visuals and really shine. And so I think that's a good answer to that question. But also, I'm going to throw Ed a bone because I know he'll like the answer to this question because it's a game that is under his stewardship. And I think Forspoken. I think Forspoken could possibly be a game
that is a good
benefit
shout.
from a sequel. I know it got slightly panned when it came out a little bit, but I think that it had some really good and interesting elements to it. And I think having seen the reaction to that game coming out, I think they would benefit from going back and having another go at making a similar game, or maybe even if that. I don't know if they want to make a sequel with the exact same character. It might be better to go with someone slightly different and take a different approach, or just go again and do, the same thing but better. But yeah, I think that would be a good one generally anyway.
You've just reminded me because I went to go stick that on the other day and then realized that I've lent like half my PlayStation 5 games out to someone at work. And then went, because I was like, well, I mean, a lot of them are either ones I've platinumed or just finished with and stuff, and just have them there because I never trade games in.
Yeah.
So I've lent them a bunch of games, and then I didn't realize Forspoken was in there, so I went to go play. I'm like, oh, balls! So now I've got to ask for that back because I'll see if I can get that tomorrow because I actually do want to play more of that. I went to go play it and I didn't have it. That's never happened to me before. Right, let's do one just for a change. Let's do one from another person that we get to guest on the show. We got the man called Rick. He says, with the runaway success of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, apparently not a great film, but it seems to be going down well.
Is that a runaway success?
Apparently it's doing quite well.
Okay.
Which real-world animatronic would be the best to hide a child in? Abraham Lincoln from the Hall of Presidents. No one would suspect it.
Just under his hat, small baby.
Yeah. Stick a baby in that hat.
Yeah. And any of the animatronics from A Small World.
Are they
all quite small?
Do they class
I don't know. I think they are. They're very simple animatronics.
Yeah, I guess so. They're very rudimentary animatronics, but yeah. I guess so. I think, because something that I mentioned from time to time, I'm a big fan of theme parks and theme park rides, specifically like the history of them and how they evolve, like Disney and Universal being the big ones that I like. So I do have quite a knowledge of all the animatronics going on and new developments and stuff in them. So just sort of thinking practically, I think like the Sully monster from the Monsters Inc. ride over in Shanghai, or for the Lightning McQueen from Cars, the Radiator Springs ride. maybe those, because they're quite chonky animatronics. I think you could fit a lot of kids in there.
I think I should get you a ticket to Westworld, Coleman.
I would love to go to a real Westworld.
Go be a cowboy.
Even though we've had 2 movies and a couple of seasons of a TV show to warn me against this, but I would still go. I love animatronics. You
and Homer Simpson wandering around the park together.
Did watch there was a whole thing on I think it was the premiere for Skull Island in Vietnam, and they had a gigantic Kong animatronic like hanging over this stage while there was all these fire dancers and stuff going on. And then the animatronic caught fire. And it's the most terrifying thing of this gigantic Kong skull. Because originally there's fire and smoke and stuff anyway. So this small fire goes off and everyone's like, yeah, it's part of the show. And then his whole hand engulfs in flames. And then everyone starts screaming and running away. And then the animatronic skull of Kong is just engulfed in flames, and you can kind of see the features underneath the fire, like this gigantic ghost rider. Kong. And it's the most terrifying thing you've ever seen. I love it.
It's not quite animatronic.
Which is funny because like the original Kongfrontation King Kong burnt down. Yeah.
It's not quite animatronics, and it's a little off topic, but I'm going to go with it anyway. But there was a park called De Efteling in Holland where I went there when I was like as a family holiday back in the day type thing. It's quite a cool park from what I remember. It had some quite cool rides and stuff, roller coasters and things. But yeah, one thing that they did that I don't think I've seen in other places. I'm not sure if Legoland did something like this, but anyway, they had bins that were like dressed up like, I think the one I remember was a big dragon. But whenever you went and put rubbish in the bin, it thanked you for it in Dutch. Danke Welt, I think it was. But it said something.
I think they featured that on last week tonight, a while ago.
Okay, but it was just a really good way of encouraging people to throw rubbish away in the theme park. Yeah. It had people like picking up rubbish from the floor to feed it more rubbish kind of thing. Yeah.
Bring me, child.
Yeah, just feed them children.
All right, one more. We've had this on the board for a while. Spiky Chris, he says, what's the funniest bug you've ever found in a game? I'm going to go with, it's not the funniest, but it's one that it will always stick in my mind because it's like early days of me playing games pre-release. But the Tomb Raider reboot, 2013, I think it was, Xbox 360 and PS3 and PC. I was playing that game, and there was a section where Lara kind of ducks through this lower part of like a cliff face hanging over. And as she came up from crouch positions, got stuck in a T-pose and started floating in the sky. And I was terrified because I was like, I've broken the game. I've broken the game that's not come out yet. And I'm looking around and people are laughing. And because it was like my first experience doing something like this. And I felt very embarrassed that it happened. So it's very memorable to me that that's happened. The other thing, otherwise, not one that I've experienced personally, but I've seen a lot of videos of the falling through because this dime a dozen in open world games, falling through the map and then seeing the underneath of the world. I've been seeing that a lot in Spider-Man 2 online, but when they do it and they're diving. I experienced
it once in Spider-Man 2, I think, but yeah.
Ooh. But seeing people do that as Miles Morales at nighttime in the Spider-Verse costume, it's like, it's kind of fitting, like diving while you're seeing the upside down of the city. It's like the Watch Out Danger section of the first film. Yeah. I like that. All right, what about you?
It's not the answer he was looking for, but all the bugs in Bug Snacks. they were kind of funny. But again, more of a memorable bug than a funny one, because I think the funniest one I've seen was the faces coming off people in Unity, but I never actually experienced that myself. Like, I actually felt bad that I played through that game and never got to experience that bug, because that bug looked excellent and would have possibly added to my enjoyment of the game. But I think my most memorable one was the bug that me and my friends found on the crash junctions on Burnout 2, the ones that got us to the top of the charts there, but you could get trucks to flip and send all the vehicles flying, and that made a massive score, and it looked quite funny. It was quite amusing, and it, like, there's a particular way that you could trigger it so that we kind of played again and again to try and trigger those off and get massive scores on those things. So that was a particularly memorable one that was funny and good when it hit, and that's my answer to that question basically.
One that used to really annoy me because I didn't know how to do it, but I used to see a lot was, I think it's SmackDown vs Raw 2007, and people figured out if I remember this rightly, if you Irish whip someone into the lower right turnbuckle and then ran at them and dodged them, they would then be stuck on the turnbuckle for the remainder of the match. So if you had a tag team, you could do that to someone, and then the two of you could just beat up the other partner without them being able to jump in and help. So I remember that quite vividly because it used to happen a lot. Even so much so, if you Irish whip someone into a turnbuckle, they would like quit the game and report you because they thought you were trying to exploit a glitch.
I was just going to say one other one that I thought of as well was just back in the day, you used to get like deliberately hacked versions of arcade games. And the one that always famously did the rounds was Street Fighter 2. And you'd get hacked versions of that where Ryu and Ken could throw like air fireballs and throw like multiple fireballs at once.
Yeah.
That was a deliberately messed up version of the game, basically.
Back in the day, people used to hack the arcade versions of those games and mess around in the menus and stuff and make them harder, more challenging, make them faster in the case of Street Fighter, and ability to spam fireballs and stuff. And so much so that we ended up with Tournament Edition and Championship Edition.
Yes.
Like Super Street Fighter and all those kind of things, because Capcom went, oh, that's how they want to play it. Okay, we'll just do that then.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just make our own messed up versions.
All right. There's a nice little trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
Okay, that is all the questions we're going to do this week. And we are going to wrap up now because we are way out of time. And I've got to edit this thing and get to bed because I've got an early start tomorrow. But
plan.
I will say, thank you if you've gone all the way through the show and listened all the way to the very end. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of BRB UK. I will say for this week that I have been Chaos.
I might have been Tim.
And this has been episode 567 of BRB UK. Until next week, dear listeners, dear viewers, a goodbye.
And I wonder if Zero Punctuation are hiring.
Please let me drown. Please let me drown.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
I mean, because I'm amazed at some of the characters that are in the Nickelodeon stable these days. Like,
Yeah.
I just, on the video that may or may not be shown, but certainly videos of kind of video reviews. I watched this online. Like Garfield kicking the Seven
Yep.
Shades of Whatnot out of Donatello.